The neon lights of the Las Vegas Strip have long been a symbol of excess, luxury, and the relentless, mechanical hum of an economy that never sleeps. But in September 2023, the rhythm of one of the world's largest gaming and hospitality giants, Caesars Entertainment, was abruptly silenced. It wasn't a power failure, a natural disaster, or a physical siege. It was a digital ghost that had walked through the front door, compromised the most sensitive layers of the company's infrastructure, and effectively locked the kingdom's gates. When a billion-dollar empire is forced to hand over millions of dollars in ransom to anonymous cybercriminals, it is not merely a business transaction, it is a profound admission of failure. It is a moment where the invisible armor of our corporate world shatters, revealing that no amount of profit or prestige can shield a company from the consequences of a single, well-placed, and entirely human error. To understand how Caesars Entertainment found itself in a position where paying a massive ransom to a criminal syndicate seemed like the most logical path forward, we have to peel back the layers of the digital assault. The attackers were not super hackers in the cinematic sense. They belonged to the loose-knit, English-speaking collective often referred to as scattered spider. Their weapon of choice was not a revolutionary piece of code, but the art of deception known as social engineering. For years, cybersecurity firms had warned that the human factor, the employee sitting at the help desk or the administrator logging in from home, was the weakest link in the security chain. In the case of Caesars, this warning became a brutal reality when the attackers successfully socially engineered an IT support staffer. By impersonating a legitimate employee and claiming to have lost access to their account, the hackers secured a password reset. Just like that, they possessed the keys to the kingdom. Once they had that initial foothold, the shift from unauthorized access to total system paralysis was rapid. They moved laterally through the network, escalating their privileges and positioning themselves to deploy ransomware across the company's vast digital landscape. They weren't just looking for cash, they were looking for total leverage. They encrypted the virtual machines that powered everything from hotel reservation systems to the point-of-sale terminals that processed food and beverage transactions across their resorts. For a company that operates on the razor-thin margins of hospitality and gaming, where every minute of downtime translates to hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost revenue, the attack was a catastrophic emergency. The decision to pay the ransom, reportedly in the range of $15 million, was a decision born of cold, hard, and cynical business calculus. It is an uncomfortable reality of the modern corporate world that ransomware payments are not necessarily moral decisions, they are financial ones. Caesars was faced with a stark binary choice: pay the criminals to receive the decryption keys, or suffer through an indefinite period of operational shutdown while attempting to restore systems from backups, a process that could take days or even weeks. Given the sheer scale of their infrastructure, the company determined that the cost of the ransom was, in fact, cheaper than the cost of the disruption. It was an insurance policy against total collapse, a way to cut the bleeding before the patient flatlined. But this transaction carries with it a massive, and deeply troubling, moral hazard. When a company like Caesars pays a ransom, it inadvertently validates the business model of the criminal syndicate. It proves that ransomware works. It signals to every other cybercriminal on the dark web that the ransomware is a service industry is a high-yield, low-risk investment. By paying, Caesars essentially subsidized the next wave of attacks, potentially against a hospital, a school, or a small business that doesn't have $15 million to make the problem go away. It is a vicious cycle of extortion that leaves the entire corporate world struggling to balance its fiduciary duty to shareholders with its ethical responsibility to the broader digital economy. Furthermore, the ransom payment is never a guarantee of safety. In the murky world of cyber extortion, there is no contract, no legal recourse, and no customer support. When you pay a criminal, you are relying entirely on their integrity, a concept that is, by definition, absent. While the hackers provided the decryption keys, the damage to the company's reputation and the psychological toll on its employees were permanent. The breach meant that sensitive customer data, including loyalty program information, was potentially exfiltrated. The fear of that data appearing on the dark web weeks or months later creates a lingering anxiety for every single customer who ever stepped foot in a Caesars property. It transforms the company from a place of entertainment and leisure into a source of ongoing risk for the very people it serves. The Caesars attack also shed a harsh light on the vulnerability of the identity management systems that power our interconnected economy. The hackers exploited a vulnerability in an identity provider, a company that facilitates the login process for a vast array of corporate applications. This incident proved that companies can invest billions in their own local security, but they are only as strong as the weakest provider in their third-party supply chain. We have built an economy of extreme convenience, where a single login can open a dozen different doors, but in doing so, we have created massive, systemic hubs of vulnerability. When one of these hubs falls, the blast radius is not contained to a single room, it levels the entire building. In the aftermath of the incident, the industry's response was a frantic scramble toward a different model of security. We are finally seeing a move away from reliance on SMS-based multi-factor authentication, which is notoriously easy to intercept or bypass, toward hardware-based security keys and robust, biometric verified identity protocols. We are entering an era of zero trust, where the assumption is that the network is already compromised, and every single request, login, and data access must be continuously verified, regardless of who is asking or where they are asking from.